And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Surrounded by Details podcast with me, Stevo, as always, your host. I hope you have a lovely Sunday. And of course, before we start, as always, a big shout out to Nanox Nutrition. If you want to get the best out of you, make sure to put the best inside of you. And also, not to forget, Sanctuary Kombucha, who's always supporting me with lovely and good tasting kombucha, which is, by the way, good for you, so you should go and get some. And thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a lovely Sunday. It is gonna be a adventurous podcast as always, and I'm really looking forward to this one. I mean, I always look forward to my podcast, but today we're gonna talk to a guy named Pepe Arcos. He's from Spain, and if you're not familiar with the name, he is a freedive photographer and filmmaker from Spain. And before I call him up, I'm gonna share the links, of course, as always. He is sitting in Bali at the moment, and while I share the link, I can actually tell you guys how I met this guy, and that was a few years back when I moved to a lovely island called Koh Tao in the south of Thailand. And my apologies for the background noise. The neighbors are building, and I hope you can bear with me, but it is better than nothing. And as I told you in our previous episodes, we are not recording live from our studio as it is right now because we are moving locations. So at the moment it is audio only. So my apologies again if there is some unwanted audio in the background. I hope that they don't keep on going the whole time. I have been going down earlier today, and I've been asking them if it could be possible to take it down a notch during the time we will record. But however, I went to Koh Tao, where I met Pepe for the first time, and he was working at Big Blue, I believe, and I wanted to do a photo project with him. Unfortunately, sometimes things don't work out as you want to, and we had to reschedule the whole adventure because Pepe decided to move from Koh Tao to a actually unknown location. I can't really remember where Pepe went. However, we have always kept kind of in touch, and he has some amazing work photography wise, and also he has been making films, and what can I say? He has been published in several magazines. He has been winning several awards. So of course I keep up to date with him, and I always followed his Instagram, which you can also do, by the way. You just need to go down and look in the description here on YouTube. So in case you are listening on iTunes or Podbean, please make sure to switch to YouTube, where you can find all the social media links to Pepe's website and Instagram and Facebook and whatever you need. Okay, so now the link is shared on my Facebook, and I'm just gonna copy that real quick and post on all the other platforms so people can follow and ask questions, because to every live stream, that is one of the main reasons we live stream, you can actually go on the live stream and ask your questions to either me or Pepe, and I pass them on for you. And there we go. We shut this window down, and then we copy the link right here, kaboom, and then we copy it into our event, which we created on Facebook. I started doing that. I actually don't know if I should keep on doing that, because people can get quite annoyed when you invite them to several events. And we have more episodes coming, of course. This is episode 107, and we have 108 coming tomorrow already, before I actually make my way to Yangon in Myanmar, aka Burma, where it's time to shoot the World Lethway Championship 2, which I'm looking forward to a lot. And there we go. Share the link here as well. And we are ready to go. Share. Boom. And there we are ready to go. I will give Pepe a call. He is sitting, as I mentioned before, somewhere in Bali, and I really hope that the background noise at his end will not be too loud either. And we're gonna have a small chat with him about how he ended up freediving, how he combined his photography and filmmaking with freediving, and how he ended up in Bali. So let's give him a call and see how he is doing. It is calling.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Pepe, how are you?
I'm very good.
You just broke probably the record for fastest answer on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, nobody ever answered so fast.
Okay.
Where are you at the moment?
I am in Bali right now, in a place called Canggu. This is South Bali.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a little bit noisy because I'm close to the road, so I hope it's not going to disturb.
No, we can't actually hear anything at your end. So so far, so good.
Very nice. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I actually was just in Chengdu a couple of weeks ago. I visited my friends at Bali MMA. Have you been there?
I was there actually a few times, and it's kind of an amazing place for MMA. There's some other places around, but that one is the best, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the guys Don Carlo Klaus and the other guys, the Leone brothers, they're really friendly, and it's a really fun place, especially when they have their Canggu Fight Night, which they have once a month, which I can highly recommend. But Canggu is kind of where you stay, or did you only go there now for the internet?
No, actually I'm based here in Canggu. That's kind of my base camp so far, yes. So it's a surfing area, meaning that because I'm a freediver, to go freediving, I need to go to the other side of the island.
Oy.
But yes, but actually this Canggu is fantastic. We have a little bit of everything. Very chill and relaxed. Even though we're in the south, it's not that crazy as Kuta, Seminyak. So yeah, quite enjoyable.
Have you tried surfing?
I tried, Steve, but I'm very bad. I try many times, and I actually like it because it's just being in the water, which I love it. But it requires a lot of practice. So it's something that you cannot just drop in and start surfing. You actually need to dedicate a lot of time. But I like it. I like to go and try.
Well, that sounds quite similar to freediving. But before we get into freediving, Pepe, I actually wanted to start with you at the beginning, because you sent me a few links to several articles. I mean, you have been published all over the place. Dive Photo Guide, UW360, Deeper Blue. There is many places where people can read about you. But I want to recap for my listeners. You are from Spain, right?
Yes, I'm from Madrid. I was born in the south of Spain, Almeria, but I'm actually from Madrid. And yeah, Spanish.
Are you happy because Real Madrid, for the first time, the first team ever in history, just defended the Champions League title in football?
I'm not a big fan of football, sorry. I've heard about that. I'm sorry to be that ignorant in football, but in my country, everything about football, and I actually don't follow so much. But yeah, I've heard something.
Yeah, I just read it yesterday. I used to be very interested in football, but somehow I dropped it because when I started to traveling here in Asia, I kind of discovered other things. But yeah, you said you're not really into football, and as I read in the links that you sent me, you got into water and water sports quite early. Can you tell me a little bit about how you had your first connection, your first history of going into the water and getting in touch with the water?
So it was quite early for me. I was living in a place close to the Mediterranean, and when I was a kid, so I remember going to the beach in summer, and some of the parents, father from one of my friends, he used to take us to do snorkeling. So I was actually 8 years old only, and I can remember this as my first introduction to the ocean because I loved it. And from there, I was just only dreaming about the next summer and do it again until now.
And as I read before, you actually didn't really go into freediving and make a living out of it directly, or photography. You actually, your first profession was graphic design and visual communication.
Exactly. Well, that was what I was doing my whole life, actually. So graphic design, I had my own company back in Madrid, and I was spending probably like 17 years of my life into graphic design, which I think is the foundations of everything that I'm doing at the moment.
But where did you make the connection between actually making a living out of freediving and graphic design and photography and filmmaking?
So that's a good question. Photography is with me actually, again, since I was very young. My father gave me a camera as a present, a manual camera.
Mm.
So I needed to go, there was no internet times, no Google. So I needed to go a little bit through, practicing, developing my own films and learning everything.
Mm.
So I've been shooting as an amateur, like from always, and I really like photography.
Mm.
In graphic design, I had the chance to be the art director for some projects and work with some photographers. And I actually got into films faster, maybe than or earlier than photography, in a professional way. And basically, what happened is I entered when I was in the middle of my design career. I entered freediving entered in my life quite strongly,
Mm.
and I thought about the possibility of mixing my two big passions, which is the ocean, freediving, and photography and films. So kind of this is how I started.
So tell me, because you mentioned that you started on an analog camera. How was that? I mean, how old are you, by the way?
I'm 41 years old, man.
You're 40. Holy
Yeah.
shit! I
Can
didn't
you
ex-
can you raise this? Oh no, it's live.
I actually didn't expect that you were 40, because
Yeah,
when I saw you the last time, I told the audience before I called you up, we met on Koh Tao very briefly, and then you happened to move from the island, and I stayed a little bit longer. But you didn't look like 40, my friend.
maybe I look now. Maybe I look like 40 right now.
Are you start to
No,
have gray hair
yeah.
and stuff?
No, no, no. I look pretty much the same. This kind of lifestyle that we have, living in a little bit out of the common thing that societies brings, like, I don't know, work, like in the office and having a family. So maybe keep us this kind of, younger look,
Hmm.
if I can say. But no, actually, I'm very proud to be at this time in my life. I think it's like a very nice point of maturity. And yeah, no, extremely happy to be 41.
Well, the people always say life is over with 30, and then I turned 30 last year and had kind of a small midlife crisis, and then I realized, hey, wait a second, I'm only 30. I can't wait until I get 40, because you realize as older you get, you realize that you don't really know anything when you're younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's relative. I hang out with a lot of young people, especially in these places that we live.
Mm.
And it's a matter of generations. There's a lot of wise and smart young people, actually. I'm quite impressed. And very, straightforward in life and entrepreneurs and doing many stuff. Of course, years and maturity gives you the pace in life, probably. I can say that. I'm not that old.
No, but would you think that it's that you could say the same thing with young people who are not traveling, or is that only with people who actually discover different cultures and who open their mind a little bit more than just Europe, for example, or just America?
Well, I can think about, when you are living in a city and your world just goes around your friends, your activities, so it's a little bit more limited.
Mm.
So people that I've met traveling, they are wide open to the world, and it make them a little bit more aware of other things, other cultures, other languages. So
Mm.
yeah, actually, I would recommend everybody just to travel as much as they can.
So, how long have you been on the road? I mean, you have been all over the place. You are giving, you have different projects. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. You are holding speeches all over the world, and you're born in Spain. When did you start, and for how long have you been on the road?
hmm So I can say that probably 5 years ago, or 5 years and a half ago, I left Madrid, my city.
Mm.
I also left my company and my project there, and I started to this adventure that I'm still holding.
Mm.
I moved first to Egypt in the Red Sea, because that's one of the best places for diving and free diving.
Mm.
And from there, I moved to Thailand, where we met. I was running a free diving school, and I spent some time there in Thailand.
Mm.
And then I fell totally in love with Asia. So I'm always around. Been in Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, now here in Indonesia, in Bali. And I totally like this area of the world.
I know this is always a stupid question to ask, but I kind of have to. Do you have a favorite place?
Yeah, is not the right question to ask me. I have many favorite places on Earth, but I cannot say. I mean, I cannot say. No, I have no favorite place. I have places that I like to go, that I dream about going.
Mm.
But I'm living pretty much like in the day basis life, meaning that where I am, I'm happy,
Mm.
and when I'm not happy, I just move on. So kind of this nomadic life allow me to know and visit many places.
But yeah, as you say, you have been visiting many places, and looking at your Instagram and on your website, of course, with many places, there come many beautiful places to take pictures of. Why did you actually choose to go underwater and take photos and not actually stay above the surface? What fascinated you about freediving and bringing your camera underwater?
That's something that, when I was seeing some pictures of some of my good friends underwater photography, underwater photographers, I love them, but I was missing something more related to freediving. Don't know why freedivers, we have like this freedom, we see the world in a 360 environment, it's like really like be floating in the air, and we have different movements, and we have a different connection to the ocean, I like to think. And I wanted to capture this, and I haven't seen it like in the way that I'm still looking to find. So that's what drove me a little bit into bringing a camera underwater with no tanks and try to capture these unique moments that I've seen when I'm freediving. The freedivers.
I have to ask here, can you just make a short explanation for our audience who are not familiar with freediving? I think the name itself says it, but you never know. What is the main difference between scuba diving and freediving?
Okay, so freediving is, we used to say that is the most natural way to go in the water and dive. Freedivers, we use only our physical capabilities to dive, meaning that we hold the breath and we dive like this. We don't use any scuba tank, any extra gear. So basically, we just learn how to use our lung capacity. Then, of course, we have courses and we need to learn exactly the same as diving. But the main difference is freediving is a sport, and we use our bodies, and it's based on breath hold. So hold the breath to go underwater, and then just breathe up again, and we do it as many times as we.
Now, looking at your work, I see that you do a lot of work with, as you mentioned, freedivers, but you also do a lot of model work underwater. How does it work exactly? How can you choreograph underwater?
Again, freediving can be an advantage. As when we are scuba divers, we need to plan everything. As in freediving, we just can go down, take some pictures, come up and talk. So actually, I can direct very well my models. So basically, we have an idea and we go to one side, shoot, and I try to, like, I will exactly the same as I could do in the studio, because I do also fashion photography. So I will basically it's the same thing. I have a shot in my mind. We go down, we take some samples, then I just give some instructions to my model, or the other way around. My model gives me some ideas, and we put them on practice. And so very much like that. So the main advantage is we can talk in the surface, and we both free dive it, so we have a shorter time in the water.
But that must be way more exhausting than in the studio, because in the studio you take a step forward, you show the picture and you talk. When you do that with freediving, you kind of have to make your way up, and then you have to come down to a point where you actually bring down your pulse and your breath, because every time now this is me as a newbie talking, so it's more like a question, but as more you go up, as shorter sessions you have each time. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
Wow, I sounded pretty smart there for a second.
Okay, it is quite demanding, but that's what I loved about freediving, and it's like being an artisan, if you know what I mean. So of course we have cameras, professional cameras, we have professional flashes, even professional freedivers like us. But at the end, we're gonna be diving and holding the breath and using just our physic, abilities to be there and try to see what we want and try to get it done, and then recovering and doing it again, like this.
But it must be pretty hard for you to find models, because I can imagine not every model is freediving or has the capability of learning freediving. So how do you choose your models, or do you kind of meet them at the freediving spots where you already are freediving?
It's complicated actually. It's quite complicated because modern models I need free divers. Safety-wise, I cannot just put somebody that is not used to be in the water and hold the breath, because it's quite something that we need to get used to, and we need to be relaxed. And relaxation is the key for free diving. So when I bring a fashion model into a pool, for example, we first need to do like a short session of breathing and go through some basic stuff to be sure that it can be relaxed. But it is never the same as shooting with a freediver, because then we can be both together 1 full minute doing many things, come up, recover perfectly, and go back again. And it's complicated. I've been very lucky in my life, to be honest, because I've been shooting for a long time with an amazing model that you know, Flavia Eberhard.
Oh,
so
yeah.
she came.
I met her.
Yeah, she came from the high fashion industry into competitive freediving. So she was like, and she is still like the Brazilian record holder.
Oh, yeah.
So together we were like putting all these talents, like she at her part as a model and as a creative person and as a top freediver, and for me as well as a freediver and photographer. So that was kind of something very, very easy for me at the beginning. And nowadays I'm finding other freedivers. I'm working a lot with the Chinese freediver Dada Lee, for example. She's another great freediver and underwater model. So things are easy with her. And I'm meeting new people every time I go to a freediving area. So I'm always asking if somebody is keen to come with me for shooting. And so like this, I'm also training here in Bali some fashion models. So I'm very, very interested in bringing both worlds together. So work with designers and stylists and makeup artists and create things underwater with a full fashion team, a traditional fashion team.
That sounds so epic for me, because I've never really done underwater photography. The furthest I have ever gone is doing some small freediving attempts and snorkeling attempts on Gotao with my GoPro, and that was a lot of fun. But I can't imagine what it is when you actually have the capability of holding your breath for a long amount of time. And I'm gonna ask you a question here, which is a small preparation into something that I discovered yesterday, because as I mentioned before, you have been sending me a lot of links, and I've went through all of them, and I went deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of doing research about freediving. When you say you work with models, and as a photographer, I know how it is sometimes. You have this shot in your head and you really want to make it work. Are you afraid that you can push your newly discovered freediving models who are not used to freediving, who are just about to learn, a little bit too far?
Yes.
Because I have
actually
the reason why I ask, I'm sorry to interrupt here, I discovered a documentary yesterday about Audrey Mestre and Pipin Ferreras. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yes, of course.
Yes, it's a freediving couple from back in the days, really famous, to explain this to my audience. And Pipini was a world-class freediver, kind of a celebrity in the scene. And he kept on pushing his wife further and further. And at a record attempt, she actually died because of, several reasons. However, that is the reason why I ask, because underwater, there is not really any room for mistakes.
You are absolutely right to ask this question, and it's a very important thing. And for me, I'm also a freediving instructor, as you know, and I was a competitive freediver before. I know the limits, especially the limits on the beginners. And one thing that we're doing, everything that we do is kind of in a controlled environment, where I try to keep it like this. The accident with Audrey Mestre was unfortunately an accident. It happened in the competitive side of freediving, where all the freedivers, they push the boundaries of the human capacity to dive deeper and deeper and deeper, to stay longer. And even though freediving is one of the most, I can say that is one of the most safer radical sports that you can find, we have some accidents in our history, very few of them. And they are related to accidents, little mistakes, things that can happen. We try to keep everything as safe as we can. We have safety divers, we have everything that we can put on. But it is a radical sport, and some people they're pushing the limits, going to 130 meters on a breath hold, or some other things like in no limits is one of they were practicing no limits, which is the most radical way to free dive. Actually, it's not considered into the competition. This modality is not into the competition normal fields, so it's kind of an isolated thing. And divers can go as deep as 240 plus meters, which
That
you have
is
an idea.
Insane. Imagine
Audrey went to
170.
170 meters during the accident. So that, as you said, there's no room for mistakes. And yeah, so actually when we shoot in is something absolutely different. We're in a confined environment always. So, and I have supervision as myself, briefing my models what to do, also for my own safety. And also I'm always trying to have a safety person around or somebody with us, just taking care, having a look, and both of us working.
Yeah. For our audience who are not familiar with that documentary, I'm gonna put that in the description as well. It's really, really interesting, and it's kind of a myth in the freediving world, as I understood this. There's many different opinions about this. However, you said it's a safe sport, and that is where I wanted to do the transition to one of your latest project called Pressure. It's a short film, and it has also been winning awards. So tell me a little bit about the project Pressure.
So this project brought me back to Bali, and since then I'm here. So what happened is my friend Miguel Lozano, he's the second deepest free diver in the world, and a very good friend of mine. So he came to Bali last year, May last year, and it was March, May. So to try to break the world record in the modality of free immersion, which is pulling the line, not using any fins, just pulling the line down and pulling the line up. So the actual record was 122, I think, and he was going to just break it a bit deeper. And
so that is, to interrupt you here shortly to make that clear for our audience, this is done completely without any extra help. There's no sleds, or is there weights involved, or is this just by pulling down the rope?
There's no assistance. Basically, you just wear some weights yourself to balance the buoyancy. But in this free immersion speciality, Miguel was just pulling the line with the hands, going down, and pulling the line coming up. So there's a line in the ocean all the way to the target depth. So he will be following that line down and then coming up, following the line with the safety divers in the middle of the way, and so on. So basically what happened is Miguel was in Bali, and there was nobody saying anything about this record, and because he also wanted to keep it very private. And I talked to him, and I decided it would be so beautiful to film a little bit what is behind the record. It's what I call it pressure for himself, not just the pressure of the ocean. And it's a world record, so there's everybody's waiting for the results, waiting for the success. And basically everything is decided in one dive. But before that dive, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of psychological roller coaster thoughts and things. And I was very interested in document that part, not actually the record that, I'm a little bit less interested, but more in Miguel's days previous to the event, and how the things that he was telling to me and do the interviews and the way that he was training, and also the people around him. That was the story that he brought me here, and I was with him filming. So for several weeks, then I edited. I had the premiere in Singapore during the Asian Diving Expo, and I presented this short film to a film festival that I was very lucky that I won. That was in the Balinale, an international film festival here in Bali, and I won the award of the best short film, which was something fantastic for me. It's a great experience. And I forgot to say, thank you. I forgot to say that it wouldn't have been possible without the help and support of a crowdfunding campaign that I launched to be able to come here, because actually it was like a zero budget, total independent production, just between us and friends. So I launched this crowdfunding campaign to get a little bit of support to be able to just make the trip, stay these days with him, get some extra equipment that I needed and shoot it and make it real, and also to get people involved in the movie and create more attention on it. So that was an amazing experience and actually very successful. So I'm very, very happy.
Now we hear the dog in the background. For the people who want to see Pressure, we put your Vimeo link in the description, of course, and all your other social media, as I already mentioned. So make sure to go and check it out. But can you tell me maybe a little bit more from your perspective, how exactly does a record attempt like this look like the days before? I mean, how do you prepare yourself mentally and physically?
We're talking about a world record attempt, which is like something that it's not gonna be easy for sure. It's something that you need to plan months ahead. Well, of course, when you're at that level, you already prepare as an athlete. But just before the attempt, you need to get like at least a month of being on location, training and getting closer and closer and closer to your target depth. So let's say you're gonna go to 123 meters. So days before, you have to be sure that you are able to do it. So you're gonna have a slow progression into that target depth. So you will be diving to 90, 95, 100, 110, and so on. And so these athletes, they have a schedule and they follow a very strict regime, meaning that during this month they will probably be just focused totally in training. So it's just training, rest, stretching, and eating and sleeping, and that's it. It's a kind of a monk's life, totally dedicated. You cannot do anything else, and it's just quite an extreme activity anyway. So one dive like this in training, it will let you totally exhausted for the rest of the day, and maybe you will need a couple of days to recover from the effort. So all these things you need to plan and have a very good agenda, the days of diving, the days of rest, until you get to the final day where the judges will come and all the pressure will be there. And so, of course, you can actually imagine that the psychological part is quite an important, very, very important part of the training. I can say actually that it should be the minimum of 50% of the dive is how ready you are in your mind to do these dives, and how strong you are to just get there and then come back up fresh and do all the surface protocol that you have to do in front of the judges and follow we have several rules, of course, to validate a world record attempt. And in any competition, there's like official judges, there's a big safety team, and everything is just ready, and you have to follow those rules and come up totally clear, give a okay sign to the judges and say verbally, I am okay, and then the record will be validated.
That is very interesting. Now, how at the moment I'm deep shit into mixed martial arts, and I'm surrounded by a lot of fighters. So how do you prepare yourself for a dive like this? Not only by repetition, but do you do some extra work? Do you follow a certain eating schedule, or is there any secret to the training except for repetition and concentration?
We have 3 modalities in competition for depth. For example, myself, I used to practice one called constant weights, which is like with a monofin. A monofin is kind of let's say a mermaid tail, like a dolphin tail that you put your 2 feet inside, and it gets you like quite a good speed. So we just swim down and swim up with following this line, but not touching the line or not using any extra help. For that, obviously, in your schedule, in your planning, in your sports agenda, you need to put some previous time of foundation exercises to get back on normal fitness, because as deeper as you go and as more specific as your training become, you will lose that shape, that normal fitness, because you're in a very specific training, which is diving. It will make you lose a little bit the muscle structure. So you need to be sure that you get it before. So at the beginning, yes, normal fitness like going to a gym, and we don't do much aerobics, even though could be some people they do it. We have different opinions, but like running, bicycle, it is okay as a cross training, but actually we do some more specific things in the gym.
What about yoga?
yoga is something that goes together with freediving for many people, because it goes through two important things, which is like elasticity and body fitness in general, and then the mental side and more the relaxation, meditation, if you want to call it, like the spiritual side of it. So some people, they really use it for that, because you need to induce yourself a meditative state, state of mind to go through these serious depths and serious dives that they kind of be very challenging anyway. So cross training it can happen during the first of your training season, but then it will be everything about being totally specific and just do deep dives and train that at the very end. So then you don't do any other thing. You just dive as much as you can. Then into that, there's a lot of exercises, and I will advise your audience to get information. There's an amazing freediving schools all over the world, with amazing coaches, instructors. They can, for all the levels, from just starting on the sport, and for the ones that they want to challenge themselves and go really deep on it and train as an athlete. There's millions of possibilities to train pretty much everywhere in the world right now.
Is that a sport that gets more popular? Because here in Thailand or in Southeast Asia in general, I've seen several dive schools where I passed, and they announce on their advertising, we can teach you to hold your breath 3 minutes within 2 days. I mean, how popular is the sport, and how real is this kind of marketing?
It is real, actually. People will be very surprised just to have a go in a freediving school, again, with a professional freediver in front, of course, and learning some basic knowledge, having some basic knowledge of physiology and understanding everything that happens in our body when we hold a breath. And actually, you can try, and many people, most of the people, especially for me as an instructor, I've been teaching many people, they can hold a breath after 2 minutes for the first time, easily, or even go to 20 meters in 2 days. We've seen it many times. So this is making compared with surfing that we were talking at the beginning, freediving is easier for everybody at the beginning. So you can really get into it quite quick. Then it will require more time and more dedication. But the beginning, just to learn, it will be very easy. And then, yes, it all depends. So in Asia, actually, as you were mentioned, there's a boom, it's kind of a very big trend in freediving. And, I'm a speaker in the Asian Diving Expo. It was the main one in Singapore. Now we're going to go to China, in Beijing, and also Shenzhen. I'm giving talks for 3 years already in this expo, and try to spread out the freediving spirit, our passion, and every year it grows more and more. So we have more freedivers, there's more people interested, there's more schools appearing, more instructors, and it's growing very, very, very nice. Some people said that it's one of the fast growing sports of the year.
Where do you see freediving in an example for in the next 5 to 10 years? How big do you think can this become? Because I feel like with mixed martial arts on my end, it feels like people get more and more into sports that only require you and your body. That is a true sport. In mixed martial arts, you can have a lot of trash talk like Conor McGregor, but then you go into the cage and you really have to deliver. And it feels like people get more and more into that direction. You said before you're not really into football, and this is one reason why I lost my interest in football, because there's a lot of decision making in there that is really, really questionable. But in these kind of sports, these kind of questionable decisions, they don't really happen. You think that is why they get so popular?
I think so. I like to compare freediving to climbing, and which is another solo sport, sort of course. But you're yourself with your own body and your abilities. And I see the future of freediving and actually the ocean, like when you go to ski, so you go to the mountains, so you have the people doing ski and then the other people doing snowboarding. So everybody shares the mountain. So we're kind of the snowboarders at the beginning, at the very beginning, when there were like only a few freaks in the mountains. Now it's super popular, and you're very used to see both of them in the mountain, just enjoying the mountains with different levels. And that's how I see the future. So the future of diving will be mixed and divided by enthusiast on scuba diving and also enthusiast with freediving, enjoying diving sites in a different way, but just sharing the same passion, which is like go and explore the underwater world.
And I think that also makes you a little bit more connected to what's actually going on in the ocean instead of just reading about it. I always say I would like to teach chess in school, for example, because you learn problem solving and you learn to think ahead. And I think small classes like these, if you just take your class instead for a party vacation to Ibiza, you just take them to the ocean and make them free dive. I think that could change many people's life. Do you think that this is a little bit of your responsibility as somebody who loves free diving to pass that knowledge on and to inspire other people and to create that connection between you, yourself, other people and nature?
Of course, that's absolutely my responsibility at the moment, and I'm 100% dedicated to this. So just tell you more a little bit in the moment that I am right now. I moved from teaching freediving because I had the school in Thailand. I've been teaching several courses. I'm still doing some private classes and workshops from time to time. And to basically spread out and share my passion for the oceans and also give, a message of protecting the environment and be a little bit more aware of the things and the problems that we are suffering that we don't see sometimes. So it's totally my responsibility as I'm a speaker and I have voice and I share my pictures, I share my movies, and I want to bring a very human message to everybody that we are fragile, but also the environment is fragile. And so sometimes when we're freediving, we say that we feel fragile because the environment, we need to hold breath, we cannot stay there longer. So we can experiment our fragility. But also we can see outside other things that they're happening. And so also the environment is very fragile. So it's absolutely my responsibility to share what I love the most, which is the oceans, and to invite everybody to come in a more respectful way, to explore and enjoy and be amazed by the animals and interaction that we have. Sometimes it's just a life-changing moment for me. It was for me and for some of the friends. Freediving with a humpback whale, it just changed your life.
I saw that video on your Vimeo. That was incredible. Where was that?
That was in Tonga. Tonga is in Polynesia. It's an island in Polynesia. So we have a season of...
Hello? And there we lost the connection with Pepe. He is gone. I'm gonna hang up and we're gonna wait a few seconds. What a shame. It went so well. He was worried about his Spanish dialect there before. I think he is speaking very, very well English. Nothing to complain about. Unfortunately, the connection got disconnected here. We're gonna try and call him up again, see if we can get him back. It's calling. We're gonna wait a little bit more. Either Pepe is calling us back in a few minutes or we try to call him back again. Yeah, he was talking about those whales he was diving with, and for the people, once again, make sure to check out his Vimeo channel. There is many interesting things on there to talk about and also to see not only the documentary Pressure, the short film that he made, also other projects. And here we go. Pepe, are you back?
Hello, sorry.
No worries. No worries. I was just talking. I was just telling the people in between while we were waiting for you either to call back or to answer about that video with the whales that is on your Vimeo channel, and it's fascinating. These large animals, and then you jump into the water. I don't know if I would have the balls to jump in there straight away.
Yeah, for sure. For sure you will have the... I mean, I saw people actually just going there, families, and crying inside of the mask when they see these animals.
Oh,
we have, especially with stations, with mammals, we have strong bond, and we feel some sort of emotion when we are with them. So I've been diving with sharks before. I've been diving in with many animals, and the feeling that I experiment when I'm with stations, with dolphins, with whales. It's just something different, totally different.
I can imagine. The closest I ever came was a turtle on Koh Tao Island. Koh Tao does mean Turtle Island, and that was super fascinating. And I was just swimming behind him and diving behind him a little bit, not to talk about any free diving. That was like 10 seconds dives, and taking pictures. And after a while I realized how far I actually went out into the ocean. You can really lose yourself when you are when you have these encounters.
No, this is why again and again, I'm going to tell your audience and everybody else that they need to go through a course. They need to learn the basics of these sports to go in the ocean. We never dive alone. That's the main rule of freediving. If you dive in whatever activity you do in the ocean, you don't do it alone. And we need to be aware about the risks as well, because they are risks.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. I mean, the only risk is just to be alone and have a problem. When we have our body around, having a look at us, so then we have safety procedure to follow if something happens. And so basically, it's never push the limits. And for everybody, join a course is something affordable for everybody. I mean, it's just everywhere. There's more and more schools and amazing instructors teaching the courses with all the associations in the diving industry, like Bali, SSI. They are bringing their own old educational program into freediving. And so, yeah, easy to do. And then you will be absolutely safe to go and practice within your limits.
Yeah. That was actually the problem with Pepe in the documentary I mentioned before, because he just created his own organization and didn't really have any rules to follow. He could just do whatever he wanted to do. So, dear fellow listeners out there, if you get tempted to go out and dive, make sure to take your buddy with you or to go to a professional instructor, and don't be as stupid as I was, because now you saying that makes me realize how stupid I was in that moment, because that was a weird moment. Pepe, can you tell me a little bit more about your ongoing projects at the moment? You have Apnea, which is a TV series for Brazil, and you also work on a new TV series for Spain called Oceanos.
Yeah, we're working on it. Actually, that was one of the most amazing things that happened this year so far. And I was shooting again with Miguel. So Miguel Lozano called me because there's a very good production company in Spain called La Caña Records. So they wanted to shoot with Miguel. And instead of going and just to freedive in amazing, beautiful places, we wanted to go with Miguel and tell the problems of these places. So we started the pilot in Borneo, in Sabah. Sabah is the Malaysian side of Borneo, it's North Borneo.
I have friends in Borneo.
So there's an island called Mabul where there's basically where you can find the sea gypsies, the Bajau Lao. So these people, they are actually gypsies, and they live by the ocean, basically. So they build the houses on top of the water, and they trade in boats. So they have this very simple life and living kind of in these nowhere lands that is those waters between Philippines and Malaysia. Quite a special place on earth. So we went there with Miguel to interview them, to know more about them, to freedive with them, because they're the natural freedivers. They've been into the ocean from generations to generations. They even have a physical evolution to be in the water. They can actually see better than us when they open the eyes, and some other amazing things. So we wanted to know more about them, and also to tell the problems that these people are facing right now, because they have no papers, they don't belong to anywhere, and they are limited in their activity. And so there's a lot of things, a lot of sites that we wanted to document. Also the plastic pollution, the big plastic problem that we are having in the ocean. So we did the pilot. Now we're gonna see if there's any TV channel like willing to produce the whole series. And if this happens, we will be shooting next year quite an amazing project going around the world and talking about many, many issues related to the oceans, and featuring Miguel. So Miguel, instead of being just a champion, will be like an ocean lover, like we are, and telling all the audience and what happened there in these isolated places with big problems.
Now, two questions. Two questions. First of all, do you think these people would even like to come back on land if they see how fucked up things are going here? And second question, could you imagine living like that?
And that's a complicated question, actually. What Bajau Lao is not that they love the ocean; they've been living like this forever. They're like, it reminds me of the nomads that I met in Egypt, the Bedouins, kind of the same thing. So they move, but they are now settled down. So they kind of stop the nomadic activity to be in a place, in a village. They would like to have a better life, Steve, I can tell you, because they have no papers, meaning that they have no access to education, to health, to work. It's very complicated. They live in a very strange place where you have a village, a very, very, very poor village, wall by wall with a 5-star resort that, you pay like $500 per night. So it's a contrast that is one of the craziest contrasts that I've seen in my life. And so I don't know what they really like. I think they just want to be free like they are. They want to do their own things, but obviously they want to have a better life because money affects to all of us, right? And they can see that people in the resorts, they live in a different way. And I guess they would like to improve their lives for sure.
Now, when you are working as a teacher, for example, or when you have worked as a teacher, did you ever confront yourself with people that see freediving as a cool thing and don't really see it as for what you see it, something that you do for a passion and something that connects you more with your environment?
Yeah, but it's like the same as photography. When I did one workshop about photography, so I said that, I said to myself, like, that workshop is not to teach people how to, especially because it was in China, it's not to teach people how to shoot like me. It's about being there, just sharing my passion. Now, everybody will take their own pictures and everybody will follow their own styles and their own things. I'm just going to be there trying to inspire them and try to share what I like. Now, you're right. There's people that they just come, like, they do skydiving, they do wakeboarding, and then they do freediving, and that's the holidays. And that's absolutely all right. I think it's a little bit of my world that I can give to them and a little bit of my passion that I can share with somebody. So I'm totally happy with it. So we have all sorts of people, and as long as they're interested in coming in the water, I think we're in the same mood.
Now, you made the switch there to photography, and I'm going to bring this podcast slowly to an end because we have been almost recording for 50, 60 minutes here. I have to ask you, photography underwater. When I think about photography underwater, do you have a wild dream of this is the picture I one day want to take? I want to have 50 other divers with me that hold strobes, which means flashlights for the people who are not into photography. Or what is your goal of like your... Do you have a dream picture that you would like to accomplish?
I have many. I have one project right now. We could talk another 50 minutes about that now.
Yeah, no worries.
So I have many. I'm doing quite an amazing project right now with a big high fashion designer and a nice team to do something more like technical. But to be honest with you, my dream, like a short-term dream, is to dive with sperm whales. I want to be with them. The sperm whales are the deep divers of the ocean. And I want to take a very strong picture of a freediver with a sperm whale in a very intimate moment.
Why exactly that animal?
Because they are the deep divers. They are the ones that dive the deepest.
Oh, okay.
and they communicate in a way. I've been very lucky to share one liveaboard trip in the Banda Sea with Benjamin Kahn. He's a big specialist in cetaceans, and he's been researching these waters and following these animals. So we were sharing hours and hours of conversations about the behavior of these animals, and I felt in love totally. I just want to be closer, to know. They speak, we don't understand. They do many things that they are extremely intelligent. Like, it's kind of a superior animal for sure, and we just don't understand. They come to you, straight to you. They talk in a language that we don't understand. And I want to be closer to these animals and learn from them as much as I can, and get these human and these big diver, like the deep divers in the human that we are, the free divers, right? with the big divers in the ocean that they are these sperm whales, and together in a very strong picture. That will be my next dream.
I saw a video once. GoPro made a video about their camera with a freediver, and he said in this video, humans are just too complicated. And I kind of hear that in your voice too. You have, what exactly is going on in your mind when you are underwater and when you are with these kind of animals? I mean, do you ever have, this might be a very strange question, but I get this with photography quite often, that it's like, I don't want this photo, this situation to end because I feel so comfortable in it. Do you have the same when you go underwater or take a picture?
Yes. And my friends, my close friends, they are like bored about listening to me every single day saying like, oh, I miss the ocean. Oh, I miss the ocean. I'm really annoying. I'm very, very addicted to be there. And once I'm there, I don't want to be here, and so I would like to spend as long as I can close to the ocean, and that's actually my dream. I don't know. I feel myself in a more natural way. I have to face my physical limitations, which finally become my real nature. Yeah. While when I'm in outside, I'm more mental and more just humans orientated. And this is just one part of myself, not everything. So I think the ocean teaches me everything and makes me a person, a wiser human being, if I can say that. And that's why I think I need to spend more time there. I need to share it with everybody.
Well, talking to you definitely makes the impression that you are a very wise and very smart person and know what you talk about. And yeah, as I just said, it's slowly time to wrap this up. One last question, which I kind of have to ask, but it's unavoidable. You know what's going on in the world with all the politicians and politics and war talks and all this kind of stuff. How does it make you feel to see somebody like Donald Trump pulling out of the Paris Agreement, which is very important for our environment and global warming?
Well, I'm independent. I'm actually an independent person, meaning that I think that we need to gather together to respond, and it's time to do actions to show what we have and do things by ourselves. I mean, obviously, some politicians, they are not representing us. And so I'm not don't want to talk about politics, but I think democracy is something a little bit that we just didn't understand yet. We didn't understand very well.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for action. I'm doing it myself. I'm doing a contest right now. I want to participate in a contest to talk about the plastic pollution and the climate change in a United Nations photography contest. And I'm very proud of putting my little bit of work and all my passion into these kind of causes. And I invite everybody to say more and show more and share more. Now we are in this society that we can share. Everything is accessible. So let's be loud and talk about the big problems, the real problems, and listen a little bit less and be less scared about those people that they supposed to represent us.
Very inspiring words. I think a lot of people make the mistake, they always look at other people first before they actually realize what they can improve. And here in Asia and Southeast Asia, I mean, both you and me, we live here. We know that can start with actually saying no to a plastic bag at 7-Eleven or going somewhere else or pick up some trash on the beach. And this is happening more and more around the world. There's a few videos of beaches in India which are completely trashed down, and people just start to actually pick up trash and make them clean again. So I think the awareness with social media also is getting bigger and bigger, and more people are getting or are realizing that we have to act and not just talk, and we have to act with ourselves instead of pointing and looking at others. Because as we say in Germany, before you clean other doors, you need to clean your own door.
Absolutely, yes. And unfortunately, we have people doing it. As you said, we've been working with NGOs like Trash Hero. We've been interviewing other people around that they are doing an amazing work. And yes, it's up to us to say no to plastic bottles, to use our own recycled plastic bags to go to the supermarket. And if we all do that thing, we will change the world. That's so simple.
Yeah, a small thing could make such a big effect, but it's so hard because people, and this is what traveling taught me, are very, very different, and cultures are very, very different, and communication is very, very different from person to person. So it sounds easy, but it is not as easy as it sounds. That's the problem.
So let's give them some extra inspiration with our work, with my pictures, with your work as well, and bring some other examples that other things can be possible as well.
I don't know if my pictures of people punching each other in the face can be as inspiring as your pictures from Wales and under the world.
We also need that. We also need that.
No, that's funny. That was nicely said. Pepe, where can we find you on social media? Where can the people follow you? Where can they get in touch with you in case they want to know more about freediving or want to see more about your work? As you mentioned, you hold public speaking in Singapore, China, Thailand, Bali, Spain. You have projects going on, Pressure, the short film, Oceanos, the TV series, Apnea, the TV series. Essence of Wilderness is your last photo exhibition. Where can we find you on the World Wide Web?
Oh, so you can get in touch with me. I'm always happy to reply to everybody and to answer any question on Facebook as Pepe Arcos. Mm-hmm. And also on Instagram, the same thing, Pepe Arcos. You can find me there, and I like to just share my pictures. And again, I'm totally open and to talk and discuss with everybody, whatever question they have.
Yeah, I only get goosebumps of hearing you talking, and I'm looking at my laptop right now because I stole a picture of you for my thumbnail, which is my favorite picture that you ever took. But also the other pictures that you take of events or of freedivers or fashion. A brilliant photographer, a great inspiration. Pepe Arcos, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you making your way to a place with internet and doing this interview with me.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Pepe, we shall talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Pepe Arcos. What an inspiring person. Oh, I lose my words. # not a native English speaker. Crazy guy. And it always feels like we don't really talk often. From time to time, we ask each other to share things, and it really feels nice. And this is why I like to podcast, because you have the chance to talk a little bit more with these kind of people, to get them a little bit more. You get to take a step further into your mind and see how they work. And especially, it makes it very interesting. Let it be Coco, let it be Pepe or other people I talk to, when they are really passionate about what they do. And Pepe certainly is very passionate about what he does. So yeah, once again, you can find all the information in the description below here on YouTube. So if you are listening later to this episode and didn't tune into our live stream, please make sure to switch to YouTube, where you can find all the information in the description. pepearcos.com. You have him on Facebook, Pepe Arcos there as well. It's Pepe Arcos everywhere. And make sure to check out his Vimeo channel, where you can find more than enough videos to fill a whole evening off, and read his articles on Dive Photo Guide, slow down, Steve-O. Read his articles on Dive Photo Guide or UW360, Deep Blue, very inspiring person for everybody who is into photography. You can know a little bit more about how he likes to take his pictures. You can see the light setting and how he works. Very, very inspiring. And with that being said, there is not really much left to say for me, except for that I have to ask you, of course, as always, to subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Surrounded by Details Podcast. You can also find us on iTunes or Podbean or Stitcher or SoundCloud under the name of Surrounded by Details Podcast. If you want to find me on Facebook, please make sure to look up Steve Bonhage Photography / Surrounded by Details Podcast, or on Instagram, steve.bonhage. Steve, as always, without a E at the end. And if you are not a social media person, just make sure to tune into my website, www.stevebonhage.com. And that was pretty much everything for today. I think 60 minutes will do. And tomorrow, before I finish, tomorrow we're going to have a living legend on the podcast. An old friend, I might say. I actually met him in my hostel in Laos. He was a guest there. A very funny story how he arrived. I'm going to tell you guys about that tomorrow. Imran Mughal is going to be on the podcast. The guy who decided to bike 25,000 kilometers around the globe on his bike, and then go back to England, and then decide I'm going to take a 1 week vacation and ride 500k through the US. This guy has basically been everywhere, but he has never walked anywhere. He always bikes with his bicycle. So I'm looking forward to this guy, a magician, an artist, a cyclist, a crazy person. So I'm really looking forward to that. That is going to happen at 6 p.m. Bangkok time, GMT +7. Or if you are in England, this will be at, let me count a little bit, 6, 12. Oh no, I think we're on at 7. It's 6 hours different to London, I believe. Whatever, you will just follow me on social media and you will see the flyer, and then you know how to tune in to that. So, dear people and audience, with all that being left behind us, a great conversation with Pepe and the announcement of our next guest tomorrow, I will once again say thank you so much for tuning in. You have been listening to the Surrounded by Details podcast. My name is Stevo.